Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Can I get everyone to focus on the paper? Everyone focus. Focus on the paper, okay? Thank you very much. So, thank you all for coming today. I'm going to give a very short speech, it's very long, but it's just to appreciate various people and just to give you some context as to why we're here today. So, my name is Adewale Ademalake, and I would like to welcome you all.
Mike.
The microphone.
Mike.
It keeps switching off. Can I just do it?
Yes.
Speak loud. Thank you very much. All right.
Do you know another one?
No, it doesn't work, but it's fine. All right, so I'm Adewale, and I would like to welcome you to the Property Development Book Club summer event at the spectacular offices of HDA Design. So come and I think that is an amazing venue, so we have to give HDA Design a round of applause.
Yeah.
Does anyone want to win a prize and tell me what HDA stands for?
Best architects in the industry.
Go on, Gordon. I got a bottle of wine for you, right? I didn't know that, and I'm sure many people of you didn't, but hey, thank you very much for that, Gordon. Can you just say that again, please?
It just shows my age.
Yeah, so thank you very much. So that's HGA Design. So property development is challenging, but what makes it all worthwhile is the end result. And that is ultimately securing planning permission, building new homes, and designing sustainable places. And ultimately, providing homes for people that need it. Our network, the Property Development Book Club, was born out of a desire to connect with property development professionals and share information during the pandemic. After several hours on Clubhouse during the pandemic, we thought we'd write a book together or either create a podcast. But you clearly can see that we started a podcast and a book is to follow. So we will write one. So our loosely affiliated group of professionals specialize in architecture, banking, structural engineering, property development, funding, and town planning. We as a group are much better together than we are alone. And through our mutual connections, various good things have happened. So I'm going to list a few things, and I'm sure some people may scream out some things of what our little group of people, or not our little, our very substantial group of people have done together. So the first thing is business partnerships. There's been various great business partnerships between architects working with planning consultants, developers working with consultants. We're talking about referrals, so getting people into places that they may not have been able to get into. Getting contracts, so I've benefited from getting contracts through our group, information sharing, and the most important point is the professional soundboard. So it's one thing for me as Adewale to say something, and it's very good to get a challenge, a professional challenge. And in our group, we welcome professional challenge, because if you do things alone, you'll find yourself in the wrong place, but with the right people, they can say, oh, you're thinking about things the wrong way, this is the way you ought to think about it, and that is the benefit of our group. So I hope that our friendships and connections have enriched us not only professionally, but personally as well as materially. So I would like to take this next segment to appreciate our contributors. So I would like to first start off with Goodman, Masson and Jeanette and the team. So can I get you to put your hands up? Let's give them a round of applause, please. Can the team at Goodman, Masson please raise their hands if that's okay? So we've got Goodman, Masson, we've got Jeanette, and thank you. So Goodman Masson is a recruitment consultant that connects great talent with great organizations in various sectors. The team, represented by Jeanette and the team, focus on housing development in the public and private development space. So if you have a need to work or to engage in property development professionally, please speak to Jeanette and the Goodman Masson team. So let's please give them another round of applause. And I would like to just thank you again for the contribution. It's very good. And we wouldn't be here today without their contribution, so thank you again. Secondly, I would like to thank Point Michelle, Michaela. If you can raise your hand, please. Woo! Let's give her a round of applause. Thank you so much. So Point Michelle is led by Michaela, and it's a development consultancy focusing on advising housing associations and community groups through their development initiatives nationwide. So again, if you're interested in community or housing association development, Michaela, there's no better person to speak to than Michaela and me. There's some others in here. Beacon Partnerships also do some great work. But again, just to shine light on Michaela, please get in touch with Michaela should you have that requirement. And Featherstone Homes, we've got Rowan, who likes to hide in the back. If you can raise your hand, please. So Featherstone Homes is a house builder who primarily delivers homes in London and the South East, and have delivered 260 homes to date. So they have ventured into build to rent. So if you are an architect, so Maribel, can you see Rowan? Maribel is a specialist in build to rent, and he is venturing into build to rent. If you have any of those connections, whether it's investors, whether it's design, whether you have furniture packs, please have a chat with Rowan at the end, and we'll also like to thank him as well as Michaela for their contribution. So let's give them a round of applause again, please. Thank you. I would then finally like to thank my company, A Lake, which is a consultancy and developer working on small plots within London and within the M25. So those are all the contributors that contributed to making this event free. So the pizzas, the drinks, and the vibes. Yeah, it's very important. We all did it together. But I have to give a special mention to HTA. So HTA have allowed us to use their exceptional space. They are renowned architects who have designed iconic buildings and specialize in housing development in the UK. The space where we're in today is testament to their architectural prowess, okay? So I'm sure everyone here can look around and say this is a phenomenally designed space. So they are specialists in architecture, master planning, landscape architecture, sustainability, town planning, interior design, and communications. So they are a one-stop shop to help you get your scheme from a concept idea or a figment of your imagination all the way up to being built. So when you walked in, you would have seen some amazing buildings. There were some iconic buildings, and there's one I like, and you know the one. Which one is it?
Oh, the really tall modular one, isn't it?
Yeah, the tall one in Croydon. So they built some phenomenal schemes. So if you happen to drive through Croydon, I'm sure you're going to see that massive green, beautiful.
There's two.
Two buildings. One green, one white. I like the green one. So I hope everyone here gets the opportunity to work with HTA at some point. And I hope you enjoy their offices and ask them about their amazing projects. So can everyone from the HTA team please raise their hand? They're up there, some up there, some here. So for those of you that haven't been in touch with them, please ask them to give you a tour around their offices. They will happily discuss the architectural inspiration behind this building. And there's a secret about this building that I want the first person to tell me what that secret is. There's another bottle waiting for you. But someone told me, and I'm not going to tell you, so it's up to you to find out. You know what it is. You've got it. Yeah? So the team have got name badges, so please find them. So this is the final segment of my speech. We have a podcast, and we want you all to listen at your leisure. And I'm going to send you all a link to it, and you're very welcome to participate. So if there's anyone here that has ideas that they want to explore, recorded, please get in touch with anyone else. Get in touch with myself. You've got a few of the team here. You've got Yemi, you've got Amandeep, you've got Michaela, you've got various of us here. Get in touch and we'll try and arrange for you to join one of our conversations. We also do events like this, and what we are doing today is important because we are building a community. But if you want to join our WhatsApp group, please let us know. I'll happily get you involved in a WhatsApp group, and then I'll send invitations. So, final segment now is we're now going to move on to a short panel to discuss the impacts of recent election news and what it means for property development. I would like to hand over the mantle to Yemi and the panelists who will take you through this talk. So thank you very much for coming today, everyone.
Thanks, Wale. So we're not going to keep you standing for too much longer, but in light of the recent election, news. This has clearly given way to much optimism in the market, but there's still a lot of questions on whether England can deliver on its housing targets in the backdrop of considerable challenges, interest rates, build costs, NIMBYism, and the availability of subsidy. So we have a very special panel of professionals who will provide views on where they see things going. So I'll start off with, well, we've already sort of had an introduction to Maribel, but Maribel is a senior associate at HTA, responsible for leading multidisciplinary teams during design of urban developments, a specialist in student housing, co-living, BTR. She's a keen advocate for diversity and inclusion in the profession and has been a long time been an advocate for the Property Development Book Club. Then we have Jeanette, who has also been introduced, who is an Associate Director at Goodman Masson, leading the development and regeneration team and focusing on interim and permanent recruitment into public sector house builders. And then we have Toyin, is a Senior Planning Manager at Barking and Riverside Limited, and they are master developers for the Barking and Riverside development side, delivering 10,800 homes, and I'm sure those 800 extra homes just to annoy Meridian Water, who are developing 10,000 homes, and is supporting infrastructure, and he oversees the management of planning risk approvals and compliance and coordinates multi-dis project teams for complex planning submissions. And then we have Jodie, who is a director at Darna, and Darna, a development management and project management company, supporting public and private sector landowners to unlock their land and deliver much needed homes. And they specialise in the delivery of complex regeneration programmes through a range of contract structures, including joint ventures. And your clients include local authorities, NHS trusts and private healthcare providers, housing associations and private sector partners. Very busy. So I'm going to start with you, Jodie. So what are the quick wins, low-hanging fruit, that you think the government will bring forward to stimulate delivery of new housing?
I don't have a mic, but I'm Welsh, so I don't generally have a problem speaking. But if you can't hear me, put your hand up. I think I asked a lot of people this question in preparation for this, because I was thinking, I don't know if there are any low-hanging fruit really. Like these bills are just so significant. They feel so significant, don't they? And I think, you know, our space is already busy. I think we've got lots of stuff kind of happening, but that planning system just seems to hold us. And I think everything is there for us to act now. And I think as a development manager, a project manager, I'm personally a little bit frustrated by this whole rhetoric around, you know, unviable schemes, build cost inflation, you know, we can't unlock these schemes. And I just think, you know, we're building homes for people on a housing register. We need to be a bit more ambitious. So I think the quick wins are utilising the structures we already have, and as they're growing and as they're changing, we move with them. But I think we need to be a bit more ambitious as industry leaders, and I think the people in this room have got, you know, budgetary decision making, the politicians who run our processes, all of those like really intelligent people who are in charge of our systems just need to be a bit bold. And I think back to the time when Labour governments were delivering 1 million homes in 6 years, and can anyone tell me when that was? Does anyone know when, like the post-war era, 1945 to...
I read a book about it, but I'm not going to answer.
Go on, you can answer. You've chatted enough anyway, you can say quite well. So, you know, and I don't want to plug the Welsh guy, but an Iron Bevan was like a driver, he was a leader, and he was a, you know, was he a lobbyist, and he made some really like controversial decisions to you know, deliver substantial amounts of housing in such a short period of time. 80% of that was social housing. How did they do that when they didn't have the technology that we have now? They don't have the collaboration and the, you know, potentially the skill sets that we have now. And yet they did it, and they did it because they had standardization, they unlocked public land, they, you know, they drove through that change, and the planning system was an enabler. And I think the low-hanging fruit is around us being more bold with what we have. It's about growing and trying to change with what's coming and utilise those opportunities. And I think, yeah, I think the opportunities are there for us all to jump onto and ride the wave, really. Yeah.
Brilliant. Jeanette, have you seen an uptake in public sector activity as a recruiter, and what telling signs do you think are before things are getting busy, or are they already busy?
They're definitely getting busier. I'll talk the other side first. So I think at the end of 2023, we saw a downturn in roles of around 55%, and that was between September to March. That meant that we had so many people applying for jobs, and the huge sort of factor of us seeing that downturn was the amount of people that were coming from the private sector. Quite often we see loads of people coming across from the private sector into public sector because there isn't that the roles in the private sector, and it's seen as a bit of a sort of safe haven coming to the public sector. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, because it puts really good press on what public sector is doing and all the hard work that everyone is doing around public sector regen. There's some amazing work going on, and it's great that people want to get into that. We've seen a lot of mergers from housing associations this year, so we've seen Peabody, Catalyst, we've seen Guinness, Shepherd's Bush, we've seen Southern Optivo, so a huge amount of mergers has meant a lot of sort of voluntary redundancy, and I think the stigma maybe around redundancies needs to change, because I think a lot of the time people are coming out of these organisations with a real drive to look at new opportunities. So there's a lot of really, really good people looking at the moment and sitting on the sidelines. And I think going back to Jodie's point of people being a bit braver and sort of putting things in place, I think once those things are put in place, there's a lot of amazing talent out there. And I think it's going to be the organisations that jump first to recruit at the end of the day that are going to sort of lap that up, rather than waiting for things to change and then start putting adverts out. So it'll be great to see organisations starting to sort of hire again, especially in regeneration. I think just one last point is around the sort of budgets going towards assets, compliance, but building safety. I think the uplift in those roles for my colleagues has been sort of 110% increase. So there's been a huge shift towards those sorts of roles, and people are upskilling themselves, people are moving into qualifications within those areas. So there's positive things happening, and I'm really excited for the next year in terms of what's to come, because I think there's good things happening in the industry.
And really relate to your point, Ari, the kind of move, especially in architecture. So I transitioned from private practice into kind of public sector, initially for housing association and then kind of Fairfield Council now. So I think that range of skill sets becoming more necessary for the public sector is kind of something seen increasingly as time goes by.
Definitely, it's becoming way more attractive, isn't it?
We're actually building now, so I'm going to come to you next, Maribel. So, from an architectural point of view, are HTA and your clients more optimistic than previously?
Oh yes, absolutely, hugely. I mean, I think it's fair to say it's been really challenging for the housing sector for quite a while. And there's a lot running on the elections, and there's a lot for the new government to do, but I think just the positive vibe and the hope is really there, and we can all feel that, and it's something that I've spoken to people in this room today. It's not so much the interest rates coming down straight away, it's just the feel that things are getting better, and that is something that you can just feel in the air, and I think that's what we're holding on to. So I think it's something that's really important. I mean, the commitment to the increase in the housing supply is obviously hugely welcome. We still don't know how that's going to come about. You know, there's huge question marks around it, but it's a really good start, and obviously it's something that we see as basic times ahead. You know, it can't be other than work, and that's something that everybody in this room wants, you know, and it's good for everybody. So fantastic. Just more immediately, just that increase in stability in the government, which we really need. We seem to have people that seem to know what they're doing and they want to get on with the job. And that really, you feel that coming through. You know, our clients, their investors, feel that confidence in being able to get on with their job, with what we all want to do. It's not like the crisis we had in the past when there wasn't really the money there. It's more the lack of confidence. And now that there's that confidence there, we can just get on and do what needs to be done, which is create loads of homes that everybody needs, isn't it? So it's definitely not like we were in 2007. It's a different thing altogether, and loads of work to do, but loads of really, really good people to do it. and just really excited about it. At HTA, I mean, we just committed to being a great employer. We've been best employer for 3rd year running, and we also recently become B Corp certified. And for us, it's those things that make the people, we work as a collaborative group, and we've won loads of really good projects recently, and we see that all coming together from the people that work here. So we're really positive about the work coming forward, about us as a company, about about the future. And we also just see that the improved economic conditions will lead to really rapid improvement in the housing sector. So just really fantastic news is where we're coming from, and that's what we hear from our clients, and that's just what we see coming forward. So fantastic, really good. Positive message.
Yeah, fantastic. Right, Toyin, from a planning perspective, now planning gets a real kicking, doesn't it? So what is your view on the new government's bold target, delivery of 1.5 million homes in 5 years, which works out to be about 821 homes a day. And for context...
He's got the easy question, hasn't he?
For context, that will see us delivering 50% more than the previous government, 50% more than the previous government managed over the same period.
Yeah, it's... I mean, this tends to happen quite a lot when we have a new government come in. Yeah. They usually make a very big splash or a very big statement about housing, usually a very big headline housing number. I think it's almost mandatory. You kind of have to do that because you have to state your intention and be bold and ambitious, and that's positive. You do want to see that. I think it's really what sits behind that announcement. What are they doing to enact that change, and it's the mechanisms, the things that they put into the system that really is going to affect that type of change. I think from a planner, it doesn't really, I'm not really too concerned about what the number is or where it is. As long as we're delivering more housing, that's fine. We're always going to be submitting applications to put houses in. It's whether it's the right time to be submitting applications, it's whether the conditions are right to be submitting an application, it's whether the mechanisms to be able to deliver the kind of big strategic housing schemes are there. So I think some of the other announcements that they made were really actually quite encouraging. So they made a significant announcement about the ability to, or the consenting mechanism for large-scale infrastructure. And that's actually quite a really big change, because it's those big infrastructure moves that really drive housing numbers, that really drive the delivery of those big housing schemes, and that's a really, really important one. A slightly more niche one is an announcement that they made was adjustments to planning committee and modernising the planning committee process. And that again, London, we're a little bit spoiled in terms of how our local authorities operate, but where the housing is really needed in those kind of, in sort of the outer London areas, they do need, I think, a bit more support in being able to make serious, well, without being offensive, make serious grown-up decisions about where housing goes, and not be stopped by kind of spurious sort of local politics. And it needs to really be kind of a almost like a data planning reason or planning merit decision, rather than a kind of rather than what they tend to be, which can be sort of somewhat emotive decisions about where housing can go. I think the announcement on Greenbelt and the suggestion that they're going to actually start looking at, or start having a sort of a more detailed conversation, a more nuanced conversation about Greenbelt, again, I think that's a really positive signal. I mean, we'll see what comes out of it. There are challenges there in terms of how you address that, but it's a really important decision or topic to be talking about, particularly when we are talking about being in a housing crisis. There is a need for significant uptake in homes. And in order to deliver that, Brownfield does deliver, or can deliver, a significant amount of homes. But to get to the numbers they're talking about, you do need to be looking at Greenbelt. So I think they made some really. I think it's expected. I think we're all expecting them to make an announcement on the number of homes, and that's positive. But yeah, it's how they bring forward, or what the detail of the sort of policies that sit behind it that are really going to sort of make the difference, or change, or make a change to the delivery.
Brilliant. Well, thank you all. So there's optimism all around, which is fantastic. So I think now is back to continuing the conversations, more eating, more drinking, and tours around. And again, just to say thank you very much for all being here.
Yeah, so again, I would like to thank the panelists for talking, and I think if you're interested in anything that they've said, have a chat with them. I think they've been quite responsible in their responses. If you want an irresponsible conversation, I'll tell you on the side. I think that one. But I think that all in all, I think it's always important to see some realism behind these targets. I think that 820 homes a month, a day, sorry. We need to question whether that's realistic or not.
You know that's what they do in France, you know. In France they do 300,000 homes in a country that's similar size, but, you know, they do that. So if they can do it, we need to work out how they do it, and we can do the same thing.
I agree.
Yes.
I 100% agree.
But
we've never achieved
I know.
200,000 since
But if the French can do it.
the Second World War.
Yeah, but don't have that attitude. We never will.
Yeah. But I think that if anyone's got any amazing solutions as to how we can solve the housing crisis, send me a letter. I'll send it to my... But thank you all for coming today. There's a lot of pizzas there, and there's no way we're taking that home today. So I want everyone to finish that. There's still some curry pots, there's still some alcohol, and it all needs to go because I'm not taking anything back home. All right? Thank you all for coming today, and look forward to seeing you more.